Love in the Big City is the most recent controversial series from South Korea. It is actually very sad that this series is controversial because there is nothing in the series that should be controversial. Love in the Big City is a series about a young gay man, Go-young, who lives in the big city of Seoul. Together with his best friend Mi-ae, or Jae-hee, how she's called in the novel, they live a wild party life and he likes hooking up with men. They both share a very special relationship and soon they start to move in together. But when Mi-ae suddenly decides to marry and settle for a normal life, Go-young is alone. To understand the backlash, it's important to look at the size of production. Usually, BL series from South Korea are low-budget web series, featuring rather unknown actors or idols. However, Love in the Big City is different. Not only does it have a much larger budget and thus is able to have hour-long episodes, no, it also features rather known actors, especially main actor Nam Yo-soo. After the first trailer dropped, a huge protest against the series formed itself. Homophobic groups argued that the series would idealize and propagate homosexuality. This, of course, is absolutely ridiculous. First, there is nothing to idealize about homosexuality. The wording implies that homosexuality is something bad. Secondly, one can also not propagate homosexuality. From modern science, we know that homosexuality is formed prenatal. TVing, however, had to stop promotion and recall the trailer after the massive wave of success. As a result, the producers decided to release all episodes at once. Now, this incident tells us a lot about Korean society. Korea's society still is extremely conservative and homogeneous. Anything that sticks out of this homogeneous normality is treated as something that needs to be fought. The first relationship of Go-young that we see is with photographer Kim Nam-gyu. Kim Nam-gyu is somebody who wants to live a heteronormative life. He believes in eternal love, he wants first promise rings, and also his date ideas are very standard like heterosexual couples. Go-young in this relationship still feels lonely. There is nobody who understands his mind. When the two break up, it becomes clear that Kim Nam-gyu is obsessed with Go-young rather than loving him. This is something that happens quite often in gay dating culture. Gay loneliness and the desire to have a relationship can quickly turn into an obsession. Kim Nam-gyu in the end even realizes this himself. His last words to Go-young are, "If obsession isn't love, I have yet never loved." Meanwhile, Go-young's world is completely different from this. His world is full of partying, hooking up, and alcohol. The theme club plays a very important part in the series. Many scenes take place in a club. Furthermore, Go-young finds his future boyfriend Gyu-ho in a club. Gay clubs are portrayed as an underworld, a parallel world far away from Korea's society. A place where gay people, without fear, can enjoy themselves and be themselves. Maybe this is the reason why clubs play such an important part in Go-young's life. He is somebody who wants to live a free life, who doesn't want to hide. Gay clubs act as a safe space for him. A place where he can live out his desires without judgment, without blame. The series depicts multiple forms of homophobia. In the study Shades of Homophobia, a framework for analyzing negative attitudes towards homosexuality, Frida Lyonga distinguishes different kinds of homophobia, which she names Shades of Homophobia. The series depicts multiple of these so-called shades. First, there are Go Young's relationships. One of his partners is Seoul, which he meets in a philosophy class. Seoul is a perfect representation of internalized homophobia. According to Lyonga, this is when a person is participating in homosexual intercourse but not fully accepting their identity or living a covered lifestyle. Seoul is such a person. He is mysterious from the beginning. We, the audience, and Go Young don't know much about him besides his problems with his mother, who is an alcoholic. Go Young starts to develop an obsession with this mysterious man. In his mind, he creates his own image. After a while, Go Young finds an article on Seoul's computer. Seoul actually believes that homosexuality is a sin and an illness, typical for the shades denialist and morbidity. He also doesn't show affection in public and doesn't like it when Go Young hugs him or even kisses him in public. This is typical for the shade avoidance. Lastly, Seoul also represents the shade veiled, because his homophobia is hidden and not immediately visible. Something that was cut from the series entirely is the theme of left homophobia. In the novel, Seoul sees homosexuality as a capitalist ideology from the US. From his perspective, Marxism therefore must reject the homosexual lifestyle. There are multiple scenes in the novel where Seoul is not satisfied with Go Young because he is too uncritical of the US and their capitalism. These political views from Seoul are completely cut out from the series. Then we have Go Young's mother. She represents the shade morbidity because she believes her son is sick and needs to be cured. Go Young's mother is very religious. One could call her obsessed with God. In a way, she is like many of the people that are protesting right now against the series. She also quite obviously has psychological problems on her own that she is unloading on her son. One example is shown when she needs surgery and refuses medication because she wants to experience the pain like Jesus Christ. She even sends Go Young to a psychiatric clinic, which will remain a teenage trauma for him. When she gets cancer, for one moment there is hope of reconciliation. But this hope is quickly shattered. She still doesn't understand him and wants a straight marriage for her son. When Go Young attempts suicide, she simply says, "Don't try so hard, we'll all eventually die." Even though Go Young hates his mother for what she has done to him, he still, in some way, cares for her. At least, she never left him, she always stayed. When she dies, he is shaken by her death, showing that he still has some sort of feelings, even though these feelings are complicated and nuanced. Go Young is not the only one with family issues in the series. Many of his lovers, including Gyu-ho and Seoul, also have problems with their family. The series depicts the struggle with your own family as something universal and common amongst gay people. There is a huge shift in tone in the second part of the series. This happens when HIV enters Go Young's life, or how he calls it, Kylie. Today, HIV still is a very stigmatized disease and part of the morbidity shade of homophobia. The series shows some of the stigmatization. For example, a situation in which HIV-positive people are made fun of. Irrational acts like covering bottles or glasses, and, of course, avoidance and exclusion. The biggest discrimination and impact of Kylie, though, happens when Go Young is in a relationship with Gyu-ho. First, he experiences work discrimination. One day, he gets a very good job offer, but he has to undergo a blood test. This is institutional discrimination. Of course, there's absolutely no need for a blood test for his type of job. It is pure discrimination. Luckily, in this case, Gyu-ho offers to go instead of Go Young, and Go Young passes and gets the job. Kylie also impacts their relationship, especially their sex life. Gyu-ho has an erectional dysfunction and cannot stay erected whilst wearing a condom. The series initially plays in a time where there is no PrEP or is very hard to get, and thus the two rarely have sex, a desire that is constantly unfulfilled. Ultimately, it is also Kylie that ends the relationship between him and Gyu-ho. He cannot go to Shanghai with Gyu-ho due to another required blood test and the discrimination of HIV-positive people in China. But he doesn't want to hold back his partner, so he decides to leave and chooses loneliness. "We can only return to being strangers," he says. The biggest change from the series to the novels has nothing to do with plot. Instead, the biggest change has something to do with the physical look of the characters. In the novel, especially towards the end, both Gyu-ho and Go Young are described as being heavily overweight. The novel therefore includes representation of bears, how this type is called in the gay scene. However, the series takes a dramatic turn from that. Both Gyu-ho and Go Young are casted with good-looking actors to the normative standards of the model industry in Asia and especially South Korea. Whilst both actors are fantastic in their role, there is some parts of the characters they cannot portray. The ugliness, the body dysmorphia at times, the self-hate, all of this does not seem believable. The big city does not only refer to Seoul. The big city might as well be the society we live in today. In such a world, is there a future for gay people like Go Young? This is the fundamental question the series wants to explore. After the breakup with Gyu-ho, Go Young is a broken man. He follows an invitation of William Habibi to Bangkok, where he shared many memories with Gyu-ho in the past. In Bangkok, he and Gyu-ho could be much more free than in Korea. There were no obligations, no society pressure. Here, they shared their happiest moments. Go-young ultimately leaves Habibi because he realizes that it is no love between them. He says, "I was lonely in either city, Seoul or Bangkok. I'm tired of loneliness and I'm tired of getting tired." Whilst he's not alone on the outside, he feels lonely inside. There is nobody that truly understands him. Since he parted with Gyu-ho, he has felt lonely ever since. He is unable to truly connect to other people. He writes a letter to Habibi in which he says, "Habibi, I have decided to live wholly as myself. And Habibi, you also deserve a chance to live that way." The series ends with a scene that is not included in the novels, but sums up everything perfectly. Go-young is on a rooftop together with his friends. They want to watch a firework. He remembers when he was watching a festival together with Gyu-ho. A lady came up and gave them a balloon on which they could write their wishes. After many attempts, he writes 2 words, Gyu-ho. This is where the novel ends. The series cuts back to the rooftop. The firework begins. Go-young and his friends are hugging each other. In this moment, they are enjoying their life, embracing their past. They might all be single, but at least they have each other. And in this moment, they are feeling something. Go-young then says, "I wrote my past relationships as novels, preserving them as perfect love. But in reality, my love life ended in failure. I wanted to understand why we left each other through the process of writing a failed love. But the only thing I knew from writing a novel was the fact that I still didn't know much about love." Maybe what he describes is the power of stories. Through stories, we can understand ourselves better. Through stories, we can reflect our own life and our own experiences. And writing can act as a form of therapy. So, is there a future for people like Go-young in the big city? Both the novel and the series do not have a happy ending. However, especially the final episode is revealing something to us, the audience. Perhaps love is about sharing ourselves, exactly as we are. That's what Go-young says. If we want to live a happy life, if we want to love, we must first learn to love ourselves. The key to truly connecting to others is by being ourselves, truly ourselves. The series wants to propagate self-love. In the big city, there are no guarantees. Love might not come at all for us. But we should not despair and lose hope. In the future, there might be a chance for us. So many of us strive for this. Just pure love. Go-young is one of us. He expresses this in his last words. Love. That was my only wish.